Alright YouTube, so we're back at the engine again. This time we're going to find out what the push rod length is we really need. And so what I got, the first rocker on there with the push rod at its lowest setting, which is 7.5 inches. Also just found out I'm going to need to buy another crank bolt, because you're not supposed to reuse the bolts. So they cost $5. So I'm going to go ahead and call the auto parts store, see if they have them. If they don't have them, I know I need to order it along when I get these push rods. So right now we're gonna turn the engine over. I'm gonna go actually look at someone's YouTube video and figure out how to use a push rod length. I think I kind of know how it is, but we're gonna make sure we do it right on the adjustable push rod. So let's go and look at a video. Then we're gonna start basically turning the crank over and the whole engine over until the piston gets up to top dead center, which is its highest, and that should be when the valve is up its highest, so you know that that's how far the push rod needs to be let out to. So we're gonna just look at a video to make sure what I'm saying is right and just get more clarification. Okay, so I figured how to adjust for valve lash and how to check the push rod length. So as of right now, I went through the tutorial guy from Summit Racing, basically showing you how to do it, and he marked it with a black marker, I marked it with a red marker. And as you can see, the marker got rubbed off on the inside. So I think if it rubs off on the inside, that means what you have adjusted to is too short. So I need to let it out some more, because what you want the markers to be right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is check the video, make sure what I'm saying is correct, remark it, and then put the push rod back on and remeasure it after I let some of it out. Let me back that up. So what I'm gonna do, check the video, then I'm going to adjust the push rod to whether it's in or out or what I need to be, but I think it needs to be out because it's already in as far as it can go, which is 7.5 inches. And then I'm gonna remark it and do the process over to make sure the marker's in the middle. So yeah, let's go and do that. Okay, so we went for a second time and we got the push rod adjusted to 7.52, and right now it's almost right at the middle. I used fingernail polish this time, and so I think 7.5 is the length of the push rod that I need to get. I can always make sure and go over here on the intake side and make sure, and I just might do that. But what Corey told me is that your measurement should be between 7.5 and 7.6 for these push rods, and 7.5 looks like what it's going to be. So yeah, that's kind of it. The next step is order the push rods, order another crank bolt, and then start putting everything back together. Alright everyone, so we got both heads torqued down, got a new crank bolt installed as well. You can see this thing's got a bad lean on it because the engine's getting so heavy. I'm actually nervous to put the accessories on the front. I figured I might tip it, not tip it over, snap these bolts in the back. So the last thing I'm going to put on here is the push rods and just the rockers, and then I'm going to support the engine. Maybe I will just support the engine now and get it prepped for accessories to go on there. So other than other than push rods and rockers, that's going to be kind of it for today. I'm waiting on some brand new water pump gaskets. I might be able to put the alternator stuff on there, but maybe I won't, because I don't want to have the engine, I don't want to have to, you know, support the engine, then unsupport it to move over there, then resupport it and all that extra stuff. So we have some new push rods that came in from Trick Flow. They're 7 point, sorry about the little thing here. They're 7.5 inches in length. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, pop them out of the package, and I'm going to lube up the bottom and the top, and then go ahead and install them, and then follow the sequence on how to install stock rocker arms. So let's go ahead and start moving forward on that. Okay, so we've had some huge setbacks. I just could not get the rockers to come back to right to top dead center, and so I suspected that the best way to do it is I need to take the balancer back off and reset the timing chain to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So as of right now, I already took the timing chain off, already put it back on, and I've already got this notch, and if you can see it right there, that little circle, we're both pointing at 12 o'clock, and I tightened the correct rockers. Now I rotated the crankshaft over 360 degrees, which puts that crankshaft notch 12 o'clock and puts the camshaft notch right here at 6 o'clock, and now I need to go tighten the other rockers. Once I do that and torque those down, then I can put the cover back on, the oil pump, and all this other stuff, and be back with the engine completely ready to go back in. I don't know how much longer this engine is going to survive on these bolts on this terrible lean, but I'm definitely going to support it tonight. So just to make sure I don't wake up and the engine's on the ground and I got to figure out if that made any damage. But yeah, let's go and get these rockers tightened on and we put the other stuff back on and we'll call it a night. Alright, so I'm here with my friend Jordan. He's definitely helping me out because I really need literally the muscle to actually get the engine in there, because that's the hardest part. Last night took 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I had to end up pulling the entire balancer off, the timing cover, and the chain, because I don't think I had everything lined up correctly as far as the camshaft, because I couldn't get the rockers on right. I couldn't find top dead center and things like that. So I found top dead center, got everything loaded up. We just did the accessories on, and now we're gonna go ahead and just get the engine in there. So my goal for today is to have the engine in the bay and at least 2 or 3 torque tube bolts started, because after that it's pretty much smooth sailing. So we're gonna go ahead and hoist it off of this, get it disconnected, and start loading it in. Okay everyone, so we are back with the engine back out, and we're taking steps backwards. So what I did is I pulled the engine out, and this coupler here was so separated that this bolt wasn't gonna you know, screw into itself. So I had to clamp that a little bit together to get that that bolt started. And then I actually went in here, and these little, you see that's like separated by 3, the shaft here, I actually tried to spread them out just a little bit to give me a little bit more wiggle room down there. And I'm also gonna have an assistant help me turn the engine by hand to help align the shaft as things get pushed in. So let's go and try to put the engine back in, and let's keep going. Okay, so we got whatever I did, and also the help from a random guy named Darren, or yeah, Darren, came by and just helped me out with getting it on propeller shaft, because he, long story short, we got it on there. So the last thing is basically, well, actually it's all pretty much straightforward putting it all back together. I got plenty of videos of the stuff, how do you put it back together. The biggest thing you're gonna have to do, and you want to do this while the cradle's low, is you want to go ahead and put the AC bolt back on for the AC, and you also want to come over and do the power steering line that's up underneath here. I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I can get in here and show you. You really can't see it, but here's the line right here, and what it does is it loops. I know the lighting's terrible. It loops underneath. There you go. It loops underneath like this, and it plugs into this hole right there. So those are 2 things you want to do while the engine is still kind of high and the cradle's low. But other than that, let's go and put everything back together. Alright everyone, we are at the moment of truth to start this car up and see if all my hard work and efforts paid off. I don't have any, let me set the tripod up and I'm going to record it. There's one thing you can do when you start it, is you hold down the brake and the accelerator down to the floor at max, and what that will do is it'll keep spinning the engine over to help circulate like priming the pump or priming up the engine full of oil, and it won't start it. So I'm gonna do that and start the car. Okay, so we got the car back together. The last thing to do is a test drive. The problem that we had earlier when I first started up, what I made sure I didn't do is I didn't panic, and I just was like running through my head, what could it be? So I popped off both valve covers. Look at the rocker arms, they were all moving. Then all of a sudden, number 2 intake just stopped. No, exhaust stopped working. So took the rocker arm off and found out pretty much the push rod was not in the hole all the way, and it was just hitting on the camera, hitting somewhere down there. So put the push rod back in there correctly, ran the car as you can see it, and everything worked fine. So I had it idle for maybe 5 or 6 minutes with everything buttoned back up, and everything sounds fine, runs fine. I revved it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the hood back on and then do a little test drive. So we ran into some issues on the trip. If you can tell, those rotors are heated up because the brakes just were constantly on them. So there's air in the system and the pedal is mushy, so I'm gonna go ahead and bleed the brakes. Also, the steering wheel is not straight because it came detached from the power steering rack, so it's kind of like turned crooked for your car to go straight. So I think if I just pop the steering wheel off and then turn a little bit right, that it can get it back right. So right now I'm gonna take care of the biggest issue first, which is the brake calipers, and bleed the air out the brake system. Okay everyone, so we're about literally over a month down the road of me putting this engine back together. A lot of things have happened since then. Different things have broke. Right here, this is my drive shaft. We're gonna talk about that later, and if you stay tuned to the channel. And also the brakes as well, probably gonna be the next segment. Now I have C6 Z06 rear calipers, and my wheel woods are over there, so we'll cover that later. But back to the engine. Everything's been back together normally. At first we thought I had some issues with ticking or some weird sound, but actually it's like a squeaky sound, and it's actually one of the pulleys turning, making that sound. So everything seems to be fine. I've done one cruise with it, which is a short cruise to test out the engine. I was going to do another big cruise, a bigger cruise down in Granbury, but that's where my drive shaft took a dive. Got that fixed, and I was actually able to do one full track day, well, 1 hour of track day, so 4 15-minute sessions, so a half day, with this car on the 1.7 clockwise at Crescent. And that's a whole different story, learning that track the opposite direction, because I've never done it before. Side note is the oil is running very high right now. I am running 10W30 in there. VR1. Corey's recommending a 1040 from Amsoil, or Amsoil, you know what I'm talking about, or some other company. Sorry about that, I had a bug on me. Instead of 10W30 because it's too thin. The temperatures on the oil is reaching 280, 290 me on the track. So I went ahead and installed another oil cooler, second oil cooler, right here. Just finishing this up right now. This laying flat. About half of it's going to get airflow from the bottom, and we're going to see how that affects the cooling temperatures and the oil temperatures on my next track day. But other than that, engine's been running fine, car's been running fine, no complaints. Got some other small issues with the axle leaking the grease over there, so I need to replace the axle or the boot or refill it or something like that. But as far as the engine goes, everything seems to be running good. Done a track session, done a cruise, have no quarrels about the engine, drive shaft's working great. So go ahead and close this out. First time rebuilding a top end of an LS. It was actually relatively easy. If you haven't been to the channel before, please like, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.